What's up, guys? Hey, this is Christian Brindle with Six Figure Medicare Agent, and we're back with another video. Today, guys, we need to talk about recruiting downline agents and building out a team and building out a hierarchy in the Medicare world and how it actually works. I'm going to unveil a lot. There are certain things that I really am not comfortable putting on a video just because certain carriers and certain insurance companies really don't like this stuff being put out in the open in the form of a video or in writing. So I'm going to try to tread lightly a little bit here. We're going to try to walk on eggshells ever so slightly, but we'll see how much information we can actually get out here. And I think you're going to walk away from it with some good information if this is something you're thinking about doing. So let's get right into it. But before we do that, guys, we got to talk about my favorite telemarketing lead company and the sponsor of this video, and that is Lead Heroes. Guys, Lead Heroes has got you covered when it comes to telemarketed leads, whether it be final expense leads, Medicare supplement leads, turning 65 leads, and everything that has to do with the telemarketing lead world. Guys, just because you watch this video, Lead Heroes is going to give you 10% off any order you make on their website. Coupon code can be found down in the description as well as a link to their website, so go over and check them out. So guys, in the Medicare world, there is such a thing as building a hierarchy. I've always said, and I've gotten some pushback for actually saying this, but it's in my opinion very ridiculous to push back on it. I think anybody that has any thing between their ears in terms of contracting and hierarchies in the insurance world will agree with me on this. The insurance industry is very MLM-ish. Very, very MLM-ish. It has a lot of influences of the multi-level marketing, network marketing industry in it. In terms of there are many organizations out there that will build teams of agents and agencies and kind of contract them under them, and they're able to kind of negotiate higher contracts and things like that to where they can contract somebody under them and then essentially have an override and have some kind of spread available. The way that it works in the Medicare world is it kind of going to depend on kind of which contract you're looking at. So like in the Medicare supplement world, typically depending on the state and depending on, because state's going to be different, what plan you're selling is typically going to be different, and each insurance company might be different, and also who you contract under might very well be different. But in the Medicare world, it's typical for Medicare supplements for a lot of insurance companies anyway. There are some that are lower and some that are higher, but for street level contracts to be 21%, 22%, something along those lines, maybe even 20%, to where you get that percentage of the premium that a person actually pays on the premium. And usually for most insurance companies, you're going to get that for about 6 years. Then after year 6, the commission goes down slightly. And then usually from year 7 to 10, you get that smaller commission. And then from year 10 and beyond, with most insurance companies, you get nothing. It's not a lifetime commission deal. There are some insurance companies that do pay their commission for lifetime renewals on the Medicare supplement world, but they're few and far between. And the way that typically works is, like, let's say, for example, the street level commission is 20%, just for the sake of example. Let's say if you find an agency or an organization that has a 25% commission rate with that same insurance company because they have a certain level of production and also a certain amount of agents under their hierarchy that allow them to negotiate that higher amount. If you contract at street level at 20%, let's say, with this organization who's at 25%, what that means is there's a 25% commission available, essentially. You would make your 20% and the upline would make the remaining 5%. The difference there, the spread, it's going to be kind of similar to the final expense, to where, like, let's say at final expense you're at 120% commission and your upline's at 130, for example. You would make the 10% difference between you and the downline if you were to contract someone into the business. Medicare Advantage is slightly different. In the Medicare Advantage world, you have street level commission, which in 2021, as I record this, is a $539 commission if a new to Medicare sale is made, and then $270 on the renewal. And that's what everybody gets. However, if an agent or agency allows for you to be able to move up levels. Like let's say with most insurance companies, the level that's right above street level commission is called a GA contract. Now, GA contract means a very different thing in the Medicare supplement world than it does in the Medicare Advantage world. So keep that in mind. Typically, the term GA, general agent is what it stands for, means a street level agent in the Medicare supplement world. In the Medicare Advantage world, it is typically the level right above street level is what GA means. And some insurance companies don't use the term GA. Some insurance companies have their own terminology to where they name it something else. But a lot of insurance companies are going to call it a GA contract. Essentially, all that this means is you are able to contract somebody under you, and you're able to make an override. And a lot of times that override is going to vary depending on what you've worked out with your specific upline and what they're able to offer you, essentially, what they're willing to offer you. It might be different from place to place. Above that, you're typically going to have an MGA level contract, a master general agency contract. And then above that, you might have SGA or FMO, depending on the specific insurance company. And then above that, you might have another level or two, depending on the exact insurance company. And then ultimately at the top, you have your FMO, IMOs that are direct to the carriers. And essentially, the way that this works, my friends, is typically with most insurance companies to get a GA contract, the insurance company requirements are usually going to be one agent, just to have a downline that is ready to sell status of some kind. Some FMOs and IMOs will tell you that they require 5, but it is more their specific requirements than the carrier's requirements. But they'll tell you it's the carrier requirements because they don't want to seem like the bad guy. To where, like, let's say there's an FMO on this side of the block that is willing to give it to you with just the one, and they'll do whatever the carrier allows. And then the FMO over here says, well, we require 5. Well, that FMO is at a tremendous disadvantage. So they are going to essentially blame it on the carriers because they just don't want to take the slack for it. But it's a bad business model, if you ask me. If you ask them behind closed doors, their reasoning behind it would be, it shows us their level of commitment to recruiting and training agents, and I can actually understand and respect that logic there. But when you're not necessarily being transparent with the agents and telling them that it's a carrier thing, and then they find out from someone else that it's not, it kind of puts a bad taste in that agent's mouth to where they might not trust you again. That what you're telling them is necessarily honest and accurate. My opinion on recruiting agents is, there are organizations out there that all they do is recruit agents, but I've never seen one like that. And that's typically what these top line FMO IMOs are. They're giant recruiting machines. That's kind of what they do. That is their business model. Many of them are not going to sell policies direct to consumer. Some will. Some might own a call center internally or something like that, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are just going to be recruiting machines, meat grinders, if you will. And getting people into the cob is essentially, and you'll see some of these organizations will have 10, 20, 30, 50, 60,000 contracted agents across the country. And so they have tremendous amounts of agents. I see a big mistake that new agents make is they will come right in, they've sold 10 policies, let's say 20 policies, 30 policies. They don't have much of a client base built up themselves, and they'll say, okay, I want to start recruiting agents. One thing you have to understand with recruiting agents is it's not as simple as just passing out a contract. Anybody can pass out a contract. Anybody can just contract somebody. But you sign an agreement typically when you sign a GA contract or an override contract that says that you're going to support that agent, you're going to train that agent, you're going to guide that agent. So in order to get the override that off of their sales, and keep in mind it doesn't come from their sales, it's just paid an additional from the carrier typically. But in order to get that override, you take responsibility that you're going to work with them. That is typically what you're going to find. And if you're just slinging contracts and not supporting the agents, first of all, you're not being compliant, technically speaking, and you're not doing the role of what you said you do when you sign that GA contract or something above street level or whatever contract you signed. Part of the responsibility in order for you to earn the override is that you support the agent. You support the agents, you're there for them. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is the high turnover rate, the high rate that people aren't successful in our industry. Cody Askins has an entire conference built around the concept called 8% Nation, which essentially what that means is the statistics show that 8% of insurance agents are the ones that last longer than 3 years in the business. 92% fail in their first 3 years is kind of the idea. And I've seen all kinds of different numbers. I've seen 90% fail in 3 years. I've seen as high as 95% fail in the first 3 years. I've seen a lot of different stats to that. But it's definitely somewhere between 90 to 95%. And really, when you start to dig around and look around, every organization is like this. Every organization is like this. And it's a very complex problem in terms of why. I feel like part of it is a lot of groups don't train agents, a lot of groups don't provide support, but also agents get into it for the wrong reason necessarily. Like they expect it to be a side hustle, they expect it to be easy, the different things like that. In my personal opinion, my friends, I feel like no matter who you are in the industry, no matter how much work and time you put into an agent and pour into people, you probably have to bring 10 people into the business to find one good one. And that's the same reigns true if you've ever been in an MLM. I've been in a couple earlier on in my life. It's the exact same principle. Anytime you're building your business on the hope of what someone else will do, you're probably going to remain disappointed. And then typically organizations that grow very fast, they typically have venture capital money behind them through connections they have. They have business partners to where they have multiple people putting their heads together and kind of trying to scale something very quickly. You're not usually going to see an agent that's working out of their house come in that's trying to sell, and they're also trying to juggle agents at the same time, be very successful. In fact, I think it bodes as a main reason why a lot of agents fail, to be honest with you. This isn't a popular opinion, and I think it's good to have new people introduced to the industry, but you have to be essentially at a point where you're self-sufficient from your own income and your own business to be able to spend time with these people, and you have to have the infrastructure put into place. If you're a one-man show and you have 50 clients, let's say, you don't have a ton of renewals built up, you still need to sell to put food on the table, and you have 10 agents under you, let's say, and they're always calling you, they're always asking you questions. Agents are very needy, guys. And I love our agents. I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on our agents, but it is the truth. Like, they don't know anything. They need to learn, and you're their guide. You're their point of contact. You can't expect people to just come into the business and just kill it. You have to put a lot of time into them. You have to invest a lot into them, not knowing if they're going to pan out or they're going to blossom and develop. I always tell agents when you're new, if you're trying to grow a business, if you're a one-man show, don't worry about recruiting agents. Go sell. Go sell, go sell, go sell, because the one person you can always count on to be there for you is you, and you can control what you do at the end of the day. I did not start recruiting agents or bringing agents into our organization until we were making multiple six figures of income just from my own personal book of business. And I believe that's probably the most sustainable model for most people. There are organizations that never sell direct to consumer, but like I said, usually they have lots of connections, like they were a marketing rep for a large FMO, so they know all kinds of people to where they have connections where by the time they go independent, they already have 15 giant organizations that are going to contract under them. That's not going to be a newbie that just got their license. It's not. Or they were a carrier rep for 10 years or so in the same situation. They have connections with all these organizations, and they've already kind of given them the wink-wink deal that they're going to contract under them as soon as they open up their agency. That is not typical. And that is typically what you're going to find with these organizations that never sell direct to consumer, and they just open up, and then within 6 months they have all these people contracted under them. It's not realistic, in my opinion, for a brand new agent that's still learning themselves. This might be hard for some of you to hear, but you can't lead a horse to water if you don't know where the water is yourself. You can't teach what you don't know yet, and you're still a newbie. You're still learning if you're watching this and this is you that I'm talking to. So build your own personal book of business, start getting some renewals, get some experience under your belt before you spend any time trying to recruit agents, because they are a time suck. For every one agent that you take care of, it's probably as much work as 1 to 200 clients. The service work on the back end. And I'm not saying that agents are bad or anything like that. I love our agent partners tremendously, but we're set up to be able to service and take care of these people because our company and our business is built on the foundation of my production first. Anyway, guys, I hope that you found this video helpful. I thought it was a video that was important and needed to be made. If you agree with me, let me know in the comment section. If you disagree with me, Let me know in the comments section too. I'm not saying that you shouldn't recruit if you're a newbie, but not right away. You can't be all things to all people on day one. Drop a like in this video if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you're notified when we upload. And we'll see you next time. Here's to your success and your abundance.